a growing controversy in Wayne County. This is in Dearborn. If you rent Airbnbs or Verbos or live by one in Dearborn, you might not for much longer. The city is considering banning short-term rentals from residential areas. Instead, rentals would be restricted to the 2 downtown districts. Owners may also have to start registering their rental unit and get a license with the city. We're going to hear from the president of the Dearborn City Council in just a minute. So we want to know if you have any questions for him. All you have to do is scan that QR code on the right-hand side of your screen and submit that. What questions do you have? We will take those questions to him. But first, let's get to Priya Mann. She talked with people in Dearborn about the city's consideration.
When it comes to short-term rentals in Dearborn, we're talking about fewer than 100 properties, closer to 50 to 70 short-term rentals. The city says this move is in response to feedback that they've been getting from homeowners. Now, we were out talking to residents. Some homeowners do not want Airbnbs in their neighborhood. Others are open to the idea. In fact, you're going to hear from Abe, and he emailed me late last night saying he had spent the day doing research. He doesn't feel like his interview went far enough. He says this move by the city is, quote, government overreach.
I don't think it's a bad idea, but I think you got to keep the landlord in mind.
Abe Albusaid lives near Ford and Schaefer and has been thinking about turning his home into an Airbnb.
This neighborhood, it's a family-oriented area, so when other families would come to visit other families, I would assume they'd want to stay in a house and not in a hotel.
But some Dearborn homeowners say Airbnbs are a growing nuisance in residential neighborhoods.
I don't like to have an Airbnb in my neighborhood because it's the potential of people renting them just for parties and then disrupting our peace and quiet, and it gets a little crazy.
Earlier this year, Rita's neighbors had to call police on a large and noisy party at an Airbnb.
And then you have cars all over the place. So you have limited parking as is, and I don't want to have it in my area.
Now, Dearborn City Council is looking at changing the city code for Airbnbs. The council is considering prohibiting short-term rentals in single-family homes and banning them from residential zones.
I think that's a little tough. I mean, I can't see why a single family from a double-family home can't be an Airbnb and vice versa and whatnot. But with a certain mandate, I think we should be fine.
What mandate?
Within certain restrictions, obviously, if you're, if it's a repeat offender where this house is utilized for block parties over and over or something like that you're seeing, definitely should be a little bit of city interference in that.
And we did hear from the city in a statement. Officials say, we believe that limiting short-term rentals to commercial areas like our downtown districts will protect housing stock for residents, including long-term renters, alleviate noise and other nuisances in quiet neighborhoods, and still offer options to those seeking to book or profit from short-term stays. We are joining cities across the country in creating updated regulations to meet challenges these businesses may present. And again, City Council is voting tonight, and we'll bring you the very latest. I'm Priya Mann, Local 4. All
right, Priya, thank you so much. Joining me to talk more about this and other issues in the Dearborn community is the Dearborn City Council President, Michael Sereni. Michael, thank you so much for joining us here on a Tuesday morning. Let me get your opinion on this Airbnb Verbo situation. As a president, do you lean one way or the other, or are you trying to keep an open mind? Michael, can you hear us?
Sorry, I can hear you now. I couldn't hear you before.
There we go. Okay, I'll ask the question again. As the council president, are you on the fence about this issue, or are you leaning one way or the other already?
Well, for me, I think I've researched the issue. It's been a long time coming. We've been working on it for some time. We also spoke with our state legislatures on proposed bills that was happening before. And from our residents, as far as for me, they made it very clear. I mean, a residential neighborhood is a residential neighborhood. And to have a transient and a short-term aspect of rental is not something that our residents want. So for me, I think it's very clear that this is the right balance to mix. Still protecting these type of situations for short-term rentals, but more in our downtown districts and the zoning aspect. So
Gotcha.
That's the way I believe it should be done.
Now, some of the people that we've talked to and that I read some articles on the other side of it, the folks who are owning these properties and then renting them out, Their arguments are, number one, it's my property. I should be able to do what I want with it. But number two, they say usually these are families that are in town to visit other family members or here for weddings or religious events, and they're not usually a loud party situation. What's your response to what they say?
No, absolutely. I asked to meet with several of them. They asked to meet. We met, and I did speak with many people regarding the advantage of the short-term rental on their aspect. So I didn't look at just one side. The party aspect and the short-term aspect was one part that we looked at, and why I come to the decision that I don't think this is great for Dearborn in our residential areas. But more importantly, as far as the property and what you can do with the property, absolutely, property rights are sacred, here in our country, and of course, it's their property. The issue is that you also have to live next to other people, and there's neighbors, and it's a neighborhood, and that's why we believe the zoning approach to this, to zone this more towards the downtown areas where people are more likely to frequent restaurants and other places when they're here in town, whether they're here for a medical procedure or they're here for a short term. But the aspect of renting a place and not having an ownership aspect to it for a very short 1 or 2 days causes problems in our neighborhoods.
Priya had mentioned that there's roughly 50 to 75 properties like this in the city of Dearborn. Do you know how many of those would fall in those two downtown districts?
Yeah, it's a great question. When we looked at it, zoning aspect, we believe maybe a third of them would fit in the downtown districts that were already there. So there is some people on the outside that will be affected by it, and we did meet with them as well to discuss what's their plans for the long term. The housing stock's a big thing in Dearborn too. Our property values continue to increase, and people want to have home ownership in here.
So I guess there's also a second conversation here about the downtown district as a whole, then, because not only if this passes tonight, not only would this help promote some more visitors and coming to the downtown area, but it could improve the economy there as well.
Without question. I mean, we have a great downtown, and we have really been, on the comeback, and a lot of things we have done downtown to, set the table for business has worked. And the businesses have come and they are flourishing, and people are visiting, whether it's a coffee shop or a restaurant, eatery, or, they have been visiting our downtowns in a very large numbers. And we want to make sure that they can utilize that. And the person that's living in the downtown area expects to have this type of traffic and people, and that's why you buy a house in the downtown.
Right. Okay, so the vote is happening tonight. I'm assuming probably 6 or 7 o'clock. You are one vote on the council. Any idea which way this is going to go?
Yeah, I've talked to most of my colleagues. I think we're comfortable with this aspect. We want to be fair. We don't believe in picking and choosing winners or losers and say that this person should have one and this one shouldn't, because there was a lot of animosity as far as, can we carve something out for one person, or these people don't have any violations, these do, these don't. We don't believe that's the right aspect. We want to be, with the law and protect our residents, and the zoning aspect is the best way. So I feel confident that that my colleagues agree with this aspect, and hopefully we'll see what happens tonight.
Gotcha. I want to pivot to another conversation that's kind of the opposite of this one. I know the mayor has been heavily involved in this project. Those are the peace parks, which essentially you found millions of dollars in every pocket that existed, both at the federal, state, and local level, to put this together. What are the peace parks?
Well, it's what we did is, if that shot you have on the screen, I mean, that was actually a site that was in litigation for many, many years. That was supposed to be a hotel that never got built, that ended up sitting there for at least 15, 20 years. And when the mayor came in, he came to me and said, can we get, the colleagues on the council, can you get them to do a different type of budgeting? I said, well, what kind of budgeting is that? And from the state aspect, what they do, and his experience in the state, was to give him an earmark of a certain amount of money. In this case, it was $10 million of ARPA funds. And they won't be appropriated. They will be appropriated individually, but to give him a bucket so he can go out and use that as leverage. He was able to do that. He was able to go to our county partners and to our state partners and get $20 million. So we end up having $30 million that we could spend on $10 million of ARPA funds. And we turned in spaces that weren't activated into meeting places, gathering spots for people to come together. We have a great restaurant aspect in our Dearborn and coffee shops, but we needed gathering spaces, and this was places for people to meet, to have events, to have some social gatherings. it's been a tremendous hit.
Yeah, we saw there's two photos or renderings of parks that are in progress right now. I know a third is in the planning phases, so that's a phenomenal project. I do want to ask you one more question about flooding. I know flooding is always an issue and a concern in the Dearborn communities and many of the communities over there in Wayne County. But you've actually taken some steps to try to mitigate these issues so when we have these heavy rains, we don't have as many problems. Can you kind of walk us through that?
Absolutely. I mean, that was a lead of my campaign last time, because I had sounded an alarm years earlier saying that we needed an independent study and that we were having problems with our sewer and it was being overlooked. So, I mean, I led that aspect. And for me, what we've done is done what most people do in your normal house. You have to maintain your facilities. And what we found out, there was many things that could hold millions of gallons of water that were only at 15% capacity because they weren't being maintained properly. They weren't regularly being maintained. So we immediately worked with that. We're also working with our state and local partners to try to find funds that we can get that will allow us to do major sewer overhauls, especially, working with all our partners, because the flooding is a regional issue, and it does have to do with the property and which way your property is setting and how close you are to proximity and slopes. But what we can do is not just sit there and say, we're not going to do anything. We actually, another initiative the council brought up, I brought up, and my councils agreed with me completely, was we have 10,000 catch basins that are not regularly maintained that need to be cleaned out, that will allow water to flow through. We've instituted that program, and now we have 2 full-time staffers that are going around and are cleaning these on a regular basis to make sure that we mitigate whatever we can right now. And it has made a difference. We've had some flooding, and we have been able to cure that issue.
Oh, Michael, thank you so much for your time this morning. I know you were very busy with all the things happening in Dearborn. I could talk to you for another 2 hours, but the producer says we're out of time. So, Michael, thank you, sir.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for having me.